Welcome back. Today, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau thanked the Red Cross for all their help during this pandemic. He announced $100 million in funding to help the organization continue its work at a time when many need it most.
The Red Cross is facing an increased demand for its services at a time where they are getting fewer volunteers and receiving less in donations. So today, our government is investing $100 million to ensure that the Red Cross can keep responding to COVID-19 while also preparing for potential floods and wildfires.
The President and CEO of the Canadian Red Cross, Conrad Sauvé, joins me now. Conrad, great to have you on the program. Your thoughts on this boost, $100 million coming from the government to not only help with what you deal with on an annual basis, the flooding and wildfires, but now this pandemic.
Well, thank you, Angie. And maybe, first of all, an opportunity really to thank all the volunteers that have answered the call. The Red Cross has been responding from day one in this COVID response, helping the Public Health Agency of Canada run the quarantine centers, of course, with Canadians arriving at Trenton and now throughout the country. We've ramped up our operations in different places, helping with long-term care in Montreal, food distribution in Toronto, safety calls across the country. So this has been a big increase in terms of our operations. But, you know, natural disasters don't stop because we're in a COVID moment. And I think what the Prime Minister is talking about absolutely is that we need to increase this capacity in the complexity also of responding to floods, fires, and evacuations, which requires even more demand, more training, and adapting to this specific situation. So this is much needed help at an appropriate time.
Conrad, paint us a picture of what we know. As we say, on an annual basis, there is already that incredible demand. And already we're seeing some of the wildfires popping up in Alberta already. So we know that you're gearing up for that. Again, with some of the rain and whatnot that we're going to be anticipating during this season, there will be flooding in areas. But now couple that with the pandemic in all of this. Paint us a picture of what it has been like over the past couple of months for your frontline workers trying to deal with this on top of everything else you already are handling.
Right. I think one of the advantages that we've had in the Canadian Red Cross, of course, is that we've deployed personnel internationally, and we've dealt with cholera and Ebola responses. So we have a good expertise in infection and infection control, and this has been key in setting up our new responses. Now, you're talking about, of course, natural disasters, and we know, unfortunately, again, flooding in Fort McMurray, and we're there presently. And so what you're seeing, again, is how do you respond in a context where we normally respond of evacuations, but how you do that in ensuring that people you're helping are protected and your staff is protected and your volunteers are protected. This is a challenge for us, but for many other organizations. So we've adapted our way of doing, using when we can to do things at a distance, and when we need to respond directly, that we have people that are appropriately trained, and that we have access to facilities that ensure that there's distance and so on. The only positive in this time of upcoming disasters, unfortunately, is the availability of hotels, which normally are not available, but allow us maybe to not use congregate shelters and use a more safe environment.
So having said that, before I let you go, Conrad, what more do you need? What else does the Canadian Red Cross need?
Well, I think we're getting a lot of support from the community, so really appreciate it. We're preparing for flood and fire season, but we're also preparing for the fall and ramping up our capacity in terms of equipment and so on. So again, this is a big help for us in preparing not for the short term, but for an ongoing reality.
Conrad Sauvé, President and CEO of the Canadian Red Cross. Great having you on the program. And again, we appreciate all the hard work you and your team do every single day. Thank you, Conrad.
Thank you, Angie.